Jimmy Corsetti says that the archaeologists over at Gobekli Tepe are hiding secrets from us. If this is true, this is gigantic news, because this is one of the most important archaeological discoveries ever made. You know, it's flipping the understanding of human civilization and spirituality. It's really giving us a context we never thought was possible, that people in the Stone Age could erect such megalithic sites for 200 kilometers in every direction. If they're hiding stuff from us, if they have found something that is going to rewrite history and they're intentionally hiding it, this is a very big deal. I live down the street from Gobekli Tepe. That's where I am right now. This is my apartment. And I've been documenting Gobekli Tepe for about 10 years, give or take, probably a little bit less than that. My foundation actually sponsors the Gobekli Tepe Film Festival. So I'm very involved in the community here, and it's an important site to me. And stick around to the end so you can see Jimmy have a mental breakdown on Twitter over me. So who is Jimmy Corsetti? Jimmy is, he's a YouTuber, and he is like a modern YouTuber. He speaks in very sensational language. It's very TikTok viral friendly. He talks a lot about Atlantis and UFOs and conspiracies of Illuminati type stuff. And he claims that there is a mainstream archaeological academic club in which everybody is working together to hide information from the public. I did a little bit of research, and as far as I can tell, he has no degree in archaeology or any type of science, but he did volunteer himself to be the Secretary of Archaeology for Trump's administration, which I thought was kind of sweet. He even listed all the things he would accomplish. What is Gobekli Tepe? I'm sure most of you know what that is, but I'll give you a quick history. Gobekli Tepe is a pre-pottery Neolithic site that is here in Şanlıurfa, Turkey. It has amazing artistic mastery on 15-ton stone T-shaped pillars, sort of like this right here. And it's got animal carvings, human anthropomorphic mixing. It's very, very interesting, and it's not what we thought was possible for people at this time. And one of the crazy things about Gobekli Tepe is that there was a deliberate backfilling. It tells us all kinds of things, so we'll go into it. And this ritualistic burial we're so lucky, because not only did it like preserve the site relatively, but it gives us a great understanding of the lifestyle of these people. And deliberate backfillings is actually a pattern amongst Anatolian pre-pottery Neolithic people. It's not only Gobekli Tepe. Jimmy's really been attacking the Gobekli Tepe archaeologists, making videos, calling it a conspiracy, and really being, well, sensational for views, obviously, but let's give him a chance. Let's go point by point and see if there is any credibility to his claims that are worth taking serious. Because if they are hiding stuff, if there really is a conspiracy at Gobekli Tepe, holy shit, dude, we need to know. Because what did they find? What did they find that they're not telling us? So, the first point that Jimmy makes is that Gobekli Tepe was made by a lost civilization with unknown technology.
Hey everybody, this is Jimmy with Bright Insight. Today I'm going to talk with you about Gobekli Tepe. Bottom line is that this is 100% definitive proof that there is some sort of lost ancient high technology or machinery that was utilized to not only cut and carve these stones, but lift them and place them where they are. Because when we're talking weights as high as 40 to 60 tons, think about that. Like, how about you research what year it was that we finally developed a crane that could lift that type of weight? And you have to ask yourself, how could this possibly have been done 12,000 years ago? Yes, that's right, 12,000 years ago.
There is not a single pillar in Gobekli Tepe that weighs 40 to 60 tons. There is a single half-carved stone that's still connected in the quarry. It was never moved or never put into the enclosures, and the archaeologists estimate this one stone to weigh around 50 tons in its unfinished form. Is this what Jimmy is inaccurately talking about?
12,000 years ago. Yes, that's right, 12,000 years ago, as they were able to carbon date from pottery and other artifacts that were located in and around the site.
Here, Jimmy says that they carbon dated the site from pottery found. If we zoom into his own video, we will see the most basic knowledge of Gobekli Tepe, that this is from the era called pre-pottery Neolithic. Even yesterday, Jimmy tweeted about pottery shards at Gobekli Tepe for some reason. If it wasn't clear, pre-pottery means pottery was not invented yet.
Guys, the evidence is right in front of us that they obviously had some sort of amazing technology that was at least on par with what we have today, or maybe more advanced. We don't know.
So in archaeology and history, they don't consider organized people with culture as being a civilization. There are a few standard criteria that must be met for it to be put into the category of a civilization. Things like urban centers or state-run hierarchies, or at least bare minimum writing, or a long-term social complexity. Gobekli Tepe has that. These people bare minimum were around for 1,500 years. And then we got Çatalhöyük, which is repeating the motifs, which I would argue is there's probably a relationship somewhere in there, maybe, some inspiration in there. There might not be the same people, but Gobekli Tepe and the Taş Tepeler network of sites, which there is 12 of them being excavated. There's really way more, but there's 12 main ones, which will be a network of sites all connected to the people who built Gobekli Tepe. It's not an isolated place, which a lot of people thought or think. There's many sites related to it. Karahan Tepe, Sayburç, Mendik Tepe, Çakmak Tepe. I'm not an archaeologist. My interest is researching anthropology, spirituality, and to me, this looks like a clear temple network of probably different communities, all sharing the same culture, all with their own personal unique identities. That's why we see like the leopard at Karahan Tepe or the fox at Gobekli Tepe. Maybe these are clan symbols. We don't know. But the thing is, what we do know is what gives Gobekli Tepe power, what gives Karahan Tepe power, is that this is pre-civilization. That before we were fully immersed in agriculture and farming, before we had cities, before we had kings, before we had writing, we had temples. This is what makes Gobekli Tepe Gobekli Tepe. Temples before cities. This is the juice of the olive trees that were removed over there. So we thought that it went farming, surplus, villages, cities, temples, civilizations, and we were wrong. We were wrong. Our history books now have to be changed. So we know they were having gigantic feast, ceremonies. This place is clearly has significance to spirituality. Human skulls that are decorated, the removal of human heads in the art, the vultures, the fertility symbols. This is very clearly a place of that's sacred to these people. It's very, come on, you can just look at it. I do think archaeologists sometimes look at stuff and go, temple, but this probably does have spiritual significance to the people, and they were living around it. Was Gobekli Tepe built by a lost civilization with special technology? Probably not. It was built by human beings from the Stone Age with the tools that we found at the site. Flint. And, there's T-pillars that are still in the quarry. There's unfinished pillars over there. So we have an idea of how they moved it, and it doesn't require any special technology or civilization structure. I know to the untrained eye, it seems like, how is that possible? How could these guys with some chisels and some hammerstones do this? How is that possible? Well, it is possible. Please just go to YouTube and watch people do it. I've spent a lot of time in India, and in India, families pass down their skills generationally. This is an Indian, traditional Indian lineages work this way, especially in the villages. So these stone carvers are masters, generation after generation after generation, and I've watched them do it. So I know it seems crazy, and if I didn't see people in villages do it with my own eyes or on YouTube, anyone can go watch on YouTube, I probably wouldn't believe it either. But yeah, sorry, no lost civilization or lost technology here. We can find the tools in the site. So Jimmy's second point or claim is that the archaeologists over at Gobekli Tepe are intentionally prolonging or refusing to excavate for a few reasons. One, because they're hiding things that they found. Two is because he said that they're trying to prolong their paychecks. And he says there's been no meaningful digs in the past 30 years. This is what his Gobekli Tepe conspiracy basically is. So, since 1995, when Gobekli Tepe was uncovered, they've uncovered numerous enclosures, mapped dozens more with radar, and built a framework that is literally rewriting our understanding of human history. It's head-scratching to say that nothing has happened in 30 years. I don't even understand, like, what are you talking about? Just over a year ago, in Gobekli Tepe, in Enclosure D, they found this boar statue. And what makes this boar statue very important is you see the little red right there on its mouth and the ears. That's not Jimmy spaghetti sauce. That's 12,000-year-old paint. So, to say there's no progress or no meaningful discoveries happening is not true. What Jimmy calls no progress has literally forced textbook rewrites. It's given us a whole new context to our understanding. So Jimmy said that the archaeologists are refusing to do any meaningful digs at Gobekli Tepe. But let me just show you something real quick. Now, he only tweeted a couple days ago that they're basically refusing to do any work here, which is insane because I come here every year for about almost a decade and so much work has happened. Look at this, they've completely dug this out right here. Look, there's excavations happening at every direction I look. They've completely dug out all this stuff over here. And a lot of people don't know this, but just behind this hill, I'll show you when we walk over there, there's a whole other enclosure. And this isn't open to the tourists, so not many people get to see it in the YouTube videos and stuff, but to say that this is all that's happened is either intentionally deceitful or, at the most honest, just very, very lacking basic information that you can just find online, or just come here and you can see it for yourself. There's no reason to rely on secondhand sources.
So I don't see the presence of any mysterious force that's trying to stop them from excavating. It seems like they're doing as much as they possibly could. There's like 24 people here,
Right.
And the people who are running it are like diligently going from person to person, checking what they're doing, seeing what they're finding. Like,
Yeah, that guy has gone to everybody so far.
And he looks like he cares. Like they really look like they're.
Guarantee he takes the credit for it. I made them excavate.
Hello, Jimmy Spaghetti.
Check this out. Jimmy Spaghetti, look how hard the archaeologists are working here. Look at all these digs. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but excavations are funded seasonally. And they are funded through grants or through governmental budgets. Nobody is milking paychecks by not digging. In fact, there's no big money in archaeology. And that's why it takes a long time. That's one of the reasons why it takes a long time. There are other reasons why it takes a long time, which we'll get into. Dr. Lee Clare is the head excavator over at Gobekli Tepe. And he responded to Jimmy with photos of recent excavations that are happening right now, saying, hey, you're incorrect by saying that we aren't excavating. Can you please stop misinforming people? Because look, this is an excavation happening right now. And as you can see, Jimmy's followers are just saying like, oh, how do we know that's real? How do we know those are real excavations? Well, I mean, you can see Gobekli Tepe behind it. And also it's coming from the I don't know, dude, just the level, you're gonna believe some TikTok Jimmy Corsetti over the head excavator? That doesn't make any sense to me. It takes a lot of faith to just put your hand up and say, I don't care about no evidence. But one thing I do agree with Jimmy about is that Gobekli Tepe probably was turned into a tourist destination prematurely. But this is complex, you know, it's not Lee Clare's fault that Gobekli Tepe became a tourist attraction. This is tourist sectors, government, stuff that is outside of the archaeologist's hands. And I don't know, it seems pretty, if you use any basic critical thinking, it seems like that would be a natural conclusion. But these guys really want there to be a conspiracy. They're very committed. And there is a deliberate pacing with archaeology, because there has to be, which I'll explain next right here. So Jimmy's third claim is Gobekli Tepe is 99% rubble and dirt that could be easily and quickly removed. This one was so stupid, I almost just want to like get up and leave the country. Jimmy's very upset that they said they don't plan to excavate the entire site and that they're going to save it for generations. And I get, once you already have the conspiracy framework and you've smashed these puzzle pieces together, that looks kind of like, you know, a little bit side-eye to the general public. But this is because the general public, like Jimmy, looks at sites like Gobekli Tepe and only sees dirt and rubble. They don't understand archaeology. This is a very elementary perspective. It's painful, because archaeology is not just like remove everything, let's get the rest of the T-pillars out. Archaeology is not about treasure hunting. That stuff is cool, but archaeology is about context. It's about context. You can't just remove all the dirt and all of the what you are calling rubble. It's not rubble, and it's not just dirt. You know, the point is not to just grab the artifact and say, look what we found, and then wipe your drool. Excavators like Dr. Lee Clare, they carefully record soil layers, micro remains, pollens, microscopic details. That means working inch by inch. It's why when you see archaeological digs, they are broken into grids, is because you need to be very careful. It's not just bulldoze the site for the artifacts. This soil that you're demanding to be immediately and quickly removed is Gobekli Tepe. This is how we understand Gobekli Tepe. I'm not Bill Nye the Science Guy, okay? I'm just some dumbass on YouTube. But I'm not as dumb as Jimmy. By recording and documenting precisely, carefully, in detail, layer by layer by layer, it takes a long time. It gives us an understanding about so many different things. The climate of the area back then. What kind of rituals were these people doing? What was their diet like? What plants were growing in the area? This stuff is preserved in those layers. And this is the context of Gobekli. This is the story of Gobekli Tepe. Because if we just have a couple stones, one, we don't know how old they are, because earth is made of stone. How are you gonna date it? And if you just look at something without having any context, anyone could have built it. That's why they wait until technology gets better. Jimmy says, this is 2025. We have the technology to excavate everything right now. This is just the beginning of AI, my friend. What we consider advanced excavation techniques now, in only 20 years, is gonna look primitive. It's hard to hear, but the best way to preserve the knowledge and to understand Gobekli Tepe, the most important discovery, we have to be very careful, and we have to wait a little bit. That requires waiting. That requires future technology advancing. We're in a technological revolution right now. Relax, okay? Give it a couple years. With AI, we're gonna be able to do incredible things in archaeology. 3D reconstruction models, the stuff we can do with the data from LiDAR, all this being processed through artificial intelligence, like I said, will make the current methods look elementary. Look kindergarten, Look like a Jimmy Corsetti classmate. This one right here is where Jimmy loses all credibility. Jimmy here is calling for the original walls of Gobekli Tepe to be removed because he thinks they're ugly. He says these are not the original walls, which I don't know what he means by that. They excavated and those walls were there. It's part of the structure of the entire site. And we can see this this pattern of these walls and circular enclosures at all the sites. So he is very loud about these are not the original. Why would they put these ugly stones next to their artistic pillars? Holy shit, dude. Well, for one, it's 12,000 years old. Not we, but the archaeologists have found plaster on those walls. They knew those walls, at least in enclosure D, were smooth. It's 12,000 years ago. Yeah, okay, it's ugly. It's ugly. But that doesn't mean we remove it. And if you don't think it's original, does that mean you think the archaeologists are building the walls? You think they're excavating and at the same time secretly building the structure? Here he is saying that not excavating Gobekli Tepe is retarded. He's got my vote. If Trump hires him for Secretary of Archaeology, he's got my vote. This is exactly the kind of intellectual depth we need in the conversation. Bravo. A+. This guy's going places in life. People are gonna take him serious outside of TikTok for sure. And one more, just because this one was too gold to skip. He said, nobody cares about preserving millions of pot shards. Again, saying like, remove all the dirt and rubble. No one cares about all the pot shards that are in there. My brother, let me put this, my brother, you're about to make me go to war. Gobekli Tepe is a pre-pottery Neolithic site. If you don't even understand the most basic information about the site, for example, the era it was built, maybe you're not in a position to make demands. Just saying. Again, I'm not Bill Nye the Science Guy, so I don't know. Ah, man, you can't make this up. Cannot make it up. Well, Jimmy can. What was that R word again? So in this claim, Jimmy says that they are destroying the integrity of the site. They're actually destroying the ruins by building these roofs. By building the roofs and the platforms in which the guests can view the site, they have destroyed the site. This is what he is, one of his arguments. Again, I just want to reiterate the point that this is not the decision of archaeologists. You know, tourism and governmental stuff is a compromise that is going to happen at a site like this, unfortunately. Because I do agree that, you know, maybe those structures have messed with some parts of the sites. I don't really know. I imagine the archaeologists would do some kind of research to know where to place it to avoid destroying anything. But it's something that I can actually agree with a little bit with Jimmy. Like, yeah, maybe you're right with that one. However, Jimmy demanding that they immediately excavate the entire site would do infinitely more damage. I mean, come on, dude. What is your real? Are you really interested in this site, or are you just interested in being a sensational grifter, just trying to scrape any little bit of views you can get? You're like one of those scavengers that are carved onto the pillars. It's like, fuck, dude. There's almost like your brain is made of spaghetti. Jimmy Spaghetti. You gotta change your name. Also, how do you protect the site from the elements without a roof? I mean, I guess you just could build a gigantic building around it. I don't know, do you just excavate everything and leave it open? Okay, here's my favorite part. Point number 5, the meltdown. There is no point here, but this is where Jimmy has an emotional breakdown like a 14-year-old in a Call of Duty lobby. He called me an insecure, retarded hobo, which is okay, it's kind of funny, but he like triple tweeted me in a row, back to back, block, unblock, unblock, so I couldn't get a response in. And he was just trying to be insulting. He also clearly doesn't know the different forms of your, which I thought was kind of funny. And yeah, here, this one right here, he was beating his chest saying, I get more views than you. And he deleted that one. I don't know, maybe he felt a little insecure about it or something. It's funny that he thinks like, I get more views than you is an insult and really is revealing about where he's coming from. You know, it makes sense. It makes sense, right? He thinks that's an insult because he cares about that. It's actually a projection. He is a perfect psychological... But Siri, can you bring up a photo and definition of projection? This is why he's constantly spewing out sensational conspiracies about UFOs, Atlantis, Gobekli Tepe is hiding. It's because he wants your money. And most people don't have academic understandings of these kind of things. They're very casual. They watch Ancient Aliens and the History Channel and they think that they understand. But no, Jimmy's just doing this for views. It's very clear. That's why he said that. Damn, I didn't even need to excavate to see that surface level ego. I don't know, I just couldn't imagine being some 40-year-old just calling people retarded and insecure over an archaeological disagreement. We're talking about history, dude. What are you... Why did you just go for personal insults? Bro's hateful over rocks. Who the fuck's hateful over rocks? God damn, bro, get your life together. This is like a cry out for help. All your replies on Twitter are just... The level of emotional immaturity is anthropological. Talking shit looking like Michael J. Fox. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned that Jimmy Corsetti doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to Gobekli Tepe. I'm sure his alien videos are cool and his conspiracies about Atlantis, but when it comes to real life stuff, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And this is the truth, you know. I have no bones in the fight. I'm not an archaeologist. And if you would like to visit Gobekli Tepe for yourself, you go to chandlerfatour.com, book a tour with one of the best guides. You can look at the excavations happening for yourself. Oh, and before we go, my homie from the hills right here, he's got a little word that he'd like to say.
Jimmy Corsetti, lost Civ Cloud. Earthman's here to shut you down. Cloud chasing grifter with no dirt on his boots. Learn history from TikTok, what an embarrassing goof. You'll never be a legend like your boy Earthman. You'll forever be a tourist with the camera in your hand.
Watch from the platform with your paid ticket, you muppet.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and send Jimmy Spaghetti a spaghetti emoji.
Wow. Hard work, huh? Very good. Teşekkürler.